see if it has a password somewhere, and I don't see that password even over here. So let me just forward that. Okay, now you guys see that it is a post header, and now you see that my email is over here, the one that I have saved. Okay, and even it will have the password. So you can see the encrypted password. So what it has done, it has encrypted my password over here. Okay, and it is sending that over HTTPS, and I am seeing the email ID and I am seeing my password in encrypted form. I can decrypt that, but that's not the intention over here. The intention is to tell you, is to kind of make you understand how the decryption device actually works in an organization. So this is how the things actually work. So let's treat the bufsuit as the decryption device, and the decryption device can actually forward the traffic on my behalf by clicking on forward, and we can see the text, the data that is being transferred in plain text over here. Okay, so I hope this makes sense now, both in the theory part as well as the lab part. How the encryption and decryption, how the things like public and private key and certificates make sense now. I hope, is there any questions on this part that we have discussed till now? Any question, guys?
No, sir.
Okay, fine then. So I hope this makes sense, and this was an easy example to kind of follow up on. And I understand, like you, we have seen a lot of things. We saw how the Firefox can be configured, how we can configure a detection device even over here. So we did that. Okay, and in similar manner, in normal scenario in the company, we'll also kind of set up a detection device over here. Okay, so I hope you guys are happy with the lab part and how we saw that thing in action, going back and forth, the data going back and forth between the client and the Facebook server, and how we were as a detection device, how we were able to see the data in plain text format. Okay, so I hope this is done. And now what I will do is, let me just quickly go and, okay, so let's think that, okay, give me now, guys, 2 minutes. I'll just quickly grab some water, and then we'll kind of start with the discussions. Okay, just give me 2 seconds. Okay, guys, now let's resume our discussion. So, one other thing, guys, I just like to mention is that because, as you might have already figured out, understanding this all thing in much deeper sense is actually required. Because as a SOC professional, as I told earlier, since we guys are SOC professionals, we need to know the network and disk forensics, okay, in the most better way and in the most deepest way as much as possible, okay. And once that's done, figuring out other topics like, let's say, sim tools and, let's say, vulnerability assessment is something like we can only understand it very quickly only if our concepts of network and disk forensics are quite good. So in the vulnerability part, obviously we need to kind of find out a vulnerability in the softwares and all. We can only do that when we are knowing about, okay, what are the disk artifacts that is in place and what are the softwares, or let's say what are the protocols that are running in let's say if the software is communicating over internet, what are the protocols in actions and what are the private keys and public keys that is in action, and so that we can understand like how to approach that vulnerability and how to exploit that vulnerability as an attacker, okay. So thing is that because of that reason, thing is that I am giving you guys more time in kind of allocating more time to the network part and the disk config part. So when I will be kind of saying disk config part, it will be really interesting. I will be sharing you few lab files which I will ask you guys to solve, and there will be a scenario, a real incident scenario, and in the event logs, and there will be multiple artifacts that you need to kind of figure out and kind of tell me the answers. It is a really interesting thing. So once you do that, once you are kind of okay with all these concepts in the networking part and responsive part, understanding SIEM is actually, I will take less time than it will take less time for me to explain, because what is SIEM? As I've already told, it's nothing but it's just a central platform which actually logs all the traffic of network as well as, let's say, of the forensics field of the disk forensics part. Okay. So it's just a tool which correlates all the data in one place. Okay. So rather than us jumping over, let's say, 10 systems and doing an investigation, we can get all those logs from one system from by the same. And also the other benefit will be that if we know about this network and disk forensics part, and let's say there is one log, specific one log file, which is needed for the investigation that is not in the same tool. So we will be knowing about that too. That okay, the same tool is not having that log file central. So we need to jump upon other devices and get those logs for us. And this happens most of the time in real incidents where we need a log file and that log file is not ingested the same. The reason for that is that the sizes of those log files is quite huge, and SIEM will not be able to kind of inculcate all those data in one place. Okay, so that's the reason I am just kind of reiterating. I'm giving more time, allocating more time to the network part, and as you have seen, like understanding these all concepts in a more deeper way, like how the public key, private keys are getting exchanged, and how we can kind of understand the data and how we can kind of make the meaning out of these headers and all. This will be much more kind of beneficial when you will be kind of dealing with any kind of incidents and all. Okay, so that's the reason I'm giving more time, and maybe because I'm giving more time this all this concept, I had to little bit kind of go through these concepts when I will be discussing that at a high level, because over here the most important part is kind of understanding this thing. So the reason is that, let's say, for the same tool, I won't be giving, like, say, 3 days or 4 days, because 3 days or 4 days of log analysis, of just kind of understanding how the tool is there, will actually not be much helpful to you guys in a longer session. In the longer session, the thing that will be helpful to you guys will be understanding this all core things in much more detail, and it will actually make you a SOC professional where you will be not just dependent on tools. So let's say you are working for a client which you just logarithm, same logarithm, for example, and the other client is using Splunk tool, for example.